Do you think you could meet the love of your life by literally just listening to a podcast? We begin at Furin High School in a class where the teacher makes a new announcement. Formerly a school separated by gender, the teacher announces that from this year, it will become a co-ed school. The students are clearly still not comfortable with each other, and to make things more natural, the teacher encourages the students to introduce themselves. Before he can even open the floor, he is interrupted by a handsome young boy, our protagonist for the time being. This boy's name is Yamabuki. He is a bright young boy who values perfection above everything else. He chastises the teacher for his imperfect choice of words and then gives an egoistic speech to the students gathered. At the end of his speech, he turns to the girls and tells them to take turns telling him, "I love you." He is rewarded with stunned silence. His male friends yell at him, and they drag him to a corner to smack him for creeping out the girls. He responds that adversity builds character, and then a girl approaches them. Surprised, the guys all stare at her when she points out that he is a Yamabuki and his family is wealthy. Because of this, she volunteers to be his girlfriend, much to the surprise of the guys behind him. Yamabuki responds by moving closer to her and touching his ear as if listening for something. He dismisses the girl easily and then announces he will use the bathroom. The class whispers about him as he walks away to the toilet. He's always been this way around girls and is looking for a specific girl, but he doesn't even know what she looks like. What he is looking for is the girl's voice. Yamabuki's phone rings. Alarmed at the tune, he picks it up only to say it is his mother. The story of why he is looking for that girl is long. When he was 12 years old, back in middle school, he listened to a radio show hosted by a girl who went by Apollo. The girl barely had any listeners, but despite this, he would listen to her alone as she talked about her school day. She would end her show with the same message, "I love you." Despite knowing the words meant for many people, he always held them close to his heart. Thinking about this, as he walks to the bathroom, a girl walks close to him and whispers, "I love you." The sheer similarity to Apollo's voice stops him, and he turns to look at her. He asks her who she is, but she reminds him he has to use the toilet with a smile. On cue, his stomach brings him to his knees, and he rushes into the bathroom, missing the hole before he can get her name. He later meets his boys in the cafeteria, and he ponders the girl he just missed. His friends wonder what is wrong with him just as the school PA system comes to life. All the students listen to it, but when the boys turn to look at Yamabuki, they find out he's looking at it in shock. He stands up from the table and rushes to the announcement room, thinking about how Apollo ended her show when the 7th grade was over and how he'd been trying to track her down ever since. Because of this, he figured out she was a student and lived in the same grade and prefecture as him. Using small details, he figured out her school, and that's why he chose to come to Furin when he heard it was merging. He reaches the broadcasting office and opens it to see 4 girls there. They yell at him, and the whole school hears the tirade. On closer look, he sees that the girl he met in the hallway is amongst the girls. Her name is Rika. But Rika isn't the only one that sounds like Apollo. All the girls in the room have severe vocal characteristics that mimic Apollo somehow. His thoughts are interrupted by one of the girls who asks if he wants to go pro. When he asks what she means, she tells him that she thinks the broadcasting club and everyone here will pursue a profession using their voice. Shinobu, the dark-haired girl, wants to be an announcer. Iko, the girl with the cat ears hoodie, wants to be a VTuber. Nene, the girl with pigtails, wants to be a voice actress. And Rika, the girl from the hallway, wants to be a singer. Yamabuki remembers from an episode of Apollo that she wanted to pursue a voice career, so he knows one of the girls is Apollo. They are skeptical of him because they've all heard of him, but Rika is more open. However, he cuts to the chase and outrightly asks them who Apollo is. They all act like they do not know what he is talking about, so he surmises that Apollo wants to hide her identity. When they return to their broadcast, Yamabuki opens the door to a horde of angry students glaring at him. He closes the door in panic and realizes that since the girls are so popular, he would never be able to get close to them to find out who Apollo is. According to this, he tells them he wants to pursue a career in voice and promises them new equipment if they let him into the club. He further tells them he made 1,000,000 yen in the stock market, and it would be easy for him to afford it. They accept him grudgingly, with Rika saying she likes his voice. Shinobu voices that she feels bad for using his money, and Rika responds that she knows how they can repay him. She whispers something to her friends, and they then ask him to turn around. When he does, they all voice, "I love you," to him. Panicking, he runs out of the room. He reflects on a time he and Apollo were alone on the show, and she once again said, "I love you." He responded that he loved her back, and it's because of this show of weakness that he keeps trying to find her to make it up to her. That night, Apollo comes on her show once again, and she admits that she loved how he always listened to her even when she had no followers. She apologizes for not being able to reveal her identity, and she finally says that she was happy enough to talk to him. Furthermore, to end the broadcast, she admits that every time she said, "I love you," those words were meant for him alone. The next day at the broadcast club, the girls organized a small party for the newcomer. However, he soon finds out that the girls have no intention of letting him near the mic. They keep him on as the errand boy, much to his annoyance. The club advisor was against having a boy join them, and had only allowed him to stay on as a chore boy. Already, Iko has given him the nickname Bucky. When he leaves the room, he wonders if Apollo is toying with him by not revealing her identity. At the end of school, he goes to the club for the after-school announcement and only finds Shinobu. She smiles and tells him she will make the announcement, and he settles down to listen while reflecting on her record. Shinobu is the vice president of the student council and a trendy model student with many fans among the boys. While helping her set up, he notices a book with some writings on it. She tells him that this is her book of speeches, where she marks the places where she fumbles her words and notes intonation. Impressed by her dedication, he compliments her, and she tries to force him to repeat it. When he asks her why, she admits she likes his voice despite Nene being belligerent. The broadcast starts, and he realizes that his memories of Apollo have become fuzzy. That is why Shinobu trips over her words too much, in a way he didn't notice on those nights. He snaps at her, and his voice carries over the PA system. Later, his boys chide him not to do that because it's nice that someone as perfect as Shinobu sometimes gets her words wrong. They are shocked when he tells them he is in the broadcasting club, and he smiles smugly at them. He later meets Nena, the aspiring voice actress, in the hallway, surrounded by girls asking her to read from a manga. Though the girls snap at him for being there, he listens to Nene's voice, remembering that Apollo loved that manga. Although Nene is better than he remembers Apollo reading from that manga, he realizes that she's an idiot when she gets some lines weirdly wrong. Still, it's plausible that one of Shinobu and Nene is Apollo. He later bumps into Iko on the stairway while she is doing a vlog. She scares him with her quiet voice, and by coming too close because she cannot see through her colored contacts. When she starts the vlog, he watches her as she only says hello, mutters a few pleasantries to her audience, and then turns it off. When he voices his shock, she responds that her viewers are happy, and that is enough for her. Bucky walks away, upset. He knows none of the girls are taking the club seriously, but he also remembers how much Apollo wanted to realize her goal of becoming a pro. Though he meets his friends on the road, he excuses himself and goes to the broadcast room. He snatches the mic out of the girls' hands and shouts at the rest of the school for making the girls so comfortable with being mediocre. He demands accountability and promises to make the club as perfect as he is, guiding the girls down the right path to make them true professionals. When he finishes his rousing speech, the girls kick him out of the room. However, a teacher enters the club to ask what is happening. While they listen to him, they all keep their heads and hands behind their back. It turns out that one of them is Apollo, holding her phone behind her. The following day starts with Bucky giving the girls hard training, making them jog very early. They complain, but Rika asks him if he is earnest about investing in them, to which he responds, yes. He offers to take them to a restaurant to take the edge off, but he notices their reluctance. He finally realizes they are running away because they don't want anyone else to see them sweaty. He then takes them to a restaurant where they don't need to hide. He throws a stack of paper on the table, informing them that they all must follow these courses to be good in their respective fields. He also gives them short-term goals that they have to meet. Iko's task is to audition for an agency. Shinobu's task is to finish the announcer 101 course. Nene's task is to pass the Level 2 Kanken test, and Rika's task is to sell 50 copies of her music CD at a street performance. Tika smiles at her task and then asks Bucky if he's ever played an instrument in front of a crowd. He answers her confidently, and she stands up, takes his face in her hands, and calls him a liar. She walks out angrily, and he realizes he made her angry. Though the rest of the girls mock him, Nena finally informs him that Rika is furious because she thinks he's all talk. He goes to hear her sing at the back of the school next Wednesday. He is surprised at the number of girls who gather to hear her sing, and though they want to jump him for coming to their gathering, he finally hears her sing. He is shocked by what he hears. Stunned is the word. In Rika, he catches a glimpse of Apollo, just as he sees in the other girls. Meanwhile, Rika has started to notice Bucky coming for all her shows in the school backyard. He stops her after one of her shows and apologizes for making light of her capabilities, saying her street performance would be a hit as well. She ignores him and walks away. Over the next few weeks, Rika noticed he had stopped coming to her shows. She wonders if he went too far and apologizes when she sees him next. As she gets to the backyard, she sees Bucky on the stage, trying to entertain an already irate crowd. She notices the bandages on his fingertips from practicing and heads to the stage to perform alongside him. She whispers that she will back him up, and though the show is a mess, she teases him afterward. When she asks him if he is nervous, he denies it. She then leans on his chest to listen to his heartbeat. He asks her what she is doing, and she responds that his heart is beating faster. But is it from nervousness or excitement? He responds that she has a nasty streak underneath her calmness. A few weeks later, the rest of the group notices that Nena has been too busy for club activities. As she leaves yet another meeting, Bulky points out that she won't finish the Level 3 Kanken rest, and she snaps that this is his dream, not hers. She barges through the door and snaps it back in anger. Bucky wonders aloud if she is doing something shady, and Shinobu replies that she is not because it is usually very obvious when Nene is lying. As Nene passes through the hallways, her girlfriends greet her heartily. She doesn't know that Bucky is tailing her, dressed as a girl. She enters an empty classroom and brings out a notebook to read her voice acting lines as Bucky watches her through a crack in the door. He realizes that she has been practicing here in secret, and as he analyzes her voice acting, his excitement causes him to barge into the room, scaring her. She smacks him for spying on her, but he looks at what she is reading and sees that she is practicing from a manga that is getting an anime adaptation. The manga is about a knight who falls in love with a princess, following forbidden love. After the soldier is injured after a battle, he is brought to the princess, who rushes to him. While pretending to brush dirt off him, she kisses him. Nen is practicing for an audition. He offers to help her, but she refuses. He then proceeds to tell her embarrassing things about himself so that she can become comfortable with him. Finally, she opens up, telling him that she has trouble getting into character because she has never been in a relationship before. Surprised that this is her problem, he then asks her to become his girlfriend for a few weeks. She is shocked, and he explains that this would help her get into character. Though she is reluctant, the whole school is soon abuzz with the news when Bucky and Nene come out of the room holding hands. When they are out of earshot, Bucky begins to voice the lines of the manga. Meanwhile, Nene's mind races. She thinks about the last scene in which the main characters kiss and wonders if Bucky will kiss her. Days pass, and they stay in character, even going on dates and acting like a couple. However, the rest of the girls notice that they are bickering much more than usual, but Shinobu notes that this is because they are becoming closer, the day before the audition finally comes. As they go through the final practice, Nene and Bucky are alone in the club's room. They have done most of the scene except the kissing scene, and Nene's mind is running with anticipation, as if Bucky is going to kiss her. She wonders if this was his goal all along. She stares at him with annoyance, but he overlooks her dilemma. With his face in the book, he finally looks up, and she braces herself for the incoming kiss, rubbing her lips with lipstick. The kiss never comes. Instead, Bucky tells her to take a break to focus on her audition. Snapping at him, she asks him why they are not doing the kissing scene, and he asks her what kind of man she takes him for. He then tells her straight up that she should save that for someone she is actually in love with. She barges out of the room angrily, but he is unfazed. Calling out to her, he tells her to have faith in herself. As she reaches the door, she turns around and quietly admits that she has had fun these past 3 weeks. With a smile and a wave, he responds that he is glad to hear that. The following week comes, and she announces to him that she didn't pass. Stunned, Bucky falls off his chair and wonders why she didn't pass when his curriculum was perfect. He begins to blame himself and lies on the floor with a book over his face.